the 20th of February. Did you know if you write today's day, month and year all in numbers, you get 20022020. And at 8:20 this evening, the time will be 2020 on 2002-2020. So let's get on with the show. Welcome to Community Matters, the radio show for all communities across Peterborough and beyond with me, Adrian Holstock. We ask questions that matter to our community life, and my first guest tonight is a key to unlocking all that is best about communities. She's Helen Walkinshaw. Welcome, Helen.
Hello, Adrian.
Hi. So you've very recently taken on a new role. What do you do now?
I'm working with Communities First, Peterborough, which is a local charity based in Millfield, Gladstone and on Lincoln Road. And basically the charity is trying to make the citizens of the area more active in actually improving their own local area.
And when did you start?
I've just started. I just started my new job last Monday.
Gosh, you're into your second week already. Do you know how Community First were able to afford to employ you and bring you on?
Yep, Community First managed to get a grant from the Communities Fund to actually employ me. They've been working in the area for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of people have come across Rosemary and Roger wearing their Community First vests, picking up litter in the area, and have worked with Mohammed Saeed as well, who's done a lot in improving the local area too. And having me on board really gives Communities First a chance to organise what they've to move on from what they've done in the past and do some new things in the future, build on what they've done already.
Sure. Now, what's been your first impression of this area of Peterborough?
I have had a wonderful time getting to know this area again, actually. Okay. I worked in this area many years ago, and it's been lovely to come back to see some old faces and some new faces as well. And it's amazing to see how much is going on in the local area too.
What sort of things have you discovered?
I know that there's a project called, I think it's Shout Out Millfield, that's just coming to fruition. The Millfield Festival is coming up as well. And there's always lots going on here at the Iqbal Centre as well.
Yes, sure. And of course, Salam Radio have their annual festival if we can organise it each year as well, which is wonderful. People turning up from all corners of the community. But communities sometimes find difficulties, and have you started to experience what some of the downsides are?
I've actually spent a lot of my time since I got here walking round the streets of Millfield, Gladstone and up and down Lincoln Road, and I can see where Communities First have made an impact, where they've managed to tidy up streets, where they've managed to make things look better. But I can also see that there's a way to go. Now, first off, we will be doing a lot of litter picking in the coming month, because it is the Great British Spring Clean time with... it's just gone. You probably know it, Adrian.
With
Keep Britain Tidy.
Keep Britain Tidy, yes, that's right.
And indeed, if you go on to the Keep Britain Tidy website, you will find all of our spring cleaning activities listed, and you can join in and get involved.
Do you know, when I walk down the streets, if Britain is tidy, if my street is tidy, it really makes a difference. I appreciate the beauty of the pavements, the plants, the shrubs, the fences and so on. But when there's litter, your eye is drawn to it, and you think, why did that can of beer need to be thrown away? Why did that empty packet of cigarettes need to be discarded?
Absolutely. But that's the point of active citizenship, is it's not about walking past that beer can or walking past that cigarette packet. It's about knowing that you could pick it up too.
Yeah. Now, that campaign, Keep Britain Tidy, started many, many years ago. I think we're going to have to rename it just at the moment and call it Get Britain Tidy.
There's certainly a lot of
Yeah.
work to be done on it. But if we teach our children not to drop litter, then we'll stop this problem recurring over and over again. So often people set a bad example to their children in that respect.
Yeah.
And I think Rosemary and Roger will be very grateful for me for saying that really you shouldn't. The problem is people dropping litter on the street in the first place.
Surely. And Community First have provided yellow vests and litter pickers and those rings that you can put the sacks through so the neck of the sack stays open. And we have an arrangement with the council to come and collect the full sacks. I went on a litter pick actually a few months ago up in the area of Khadija Mosque at the top end of Cromwell Road. And I had some of my church members were there. We'd gone for a meeting with the mosque. And we said, we'll all get together and go on a litter picking. And we paired off and I went with Diane from my church. And as we carried on round the streets, it was a sort of a satisfying feeling filling the sacks, but we also, believe it or not, got competitive. And we were saying, can we get a bigger sack, a heavier sack than the other person? And we were rushing ahead of each other trying to get the next piece of rubbish.
And think of the amount of money you saved on gym membership.
Sure.
Litter picking is a great way to get out and meet your neighbours, and it's a great way to keep fit as well.
So through your organisation skills, Community First are going to provide more equipment, more yellow vests, and hopefully form more litter picking teams.
Absolutely, but we are ready to go. We have vests, we have rings, and we have sticks. What we need are volunteers who are willing to use them.
Yeah, good. And it could just be for an hour.
Could be for an hour, could even be for half an hour. And I know that there are already people out there doing it as well. Just this week, when we were litter picking, a woman came up to us on the street to say that her husband had got so frustrated with the rubbish on his street that he had gone to B&Q and bought his own stick.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And so if anyone's already doing it and you'd like to do it with other people, then get in touch with us. We're on Facebook and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Okay. So they can find Community First on Facebook and get linked through with that. They can also find you out and about in the area most days?
Absolutely. I'm generally out and about in the area, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm based here at the Iqbal Centre as well.
Wonderful. Okay. Now litter picking's just one significant but one small part of the whole need and opportunities that we have for the community.
Absolutely. Once we've managed to start picking up the litter this spring, we'll be planting.
Aha.
Lots of our community areas are looking a bit run down. Areas which have been done, some of the plants have died off. So we will be looking for active and keen gardeners, and even people who haven't gardened but would like to get involved. We would love to hear from you as well.
Gosh. And what you're wanting is people's labour. There are tools. You can bring your own tools, or there are tools that Community First have got.
And we have lots of people who are going to be coming on board to help us get the equipment and the well, we already have the equipment, but we have people coming on board to help us get the plants that we need to make these areas look beautiful.
Yep, and the soil and the sacking to keep the weeds down.
Absolutely. And if any of you listeners out there have things that could be used, then again, feel free to get in touch.
Wonderful.
It's your area.
Yeah. Over the last couple of years, led by Mohammed Saeed, I think we've converted over 20 patches of bare ground or very overgrown shrubs into nicely planted gardens.
What's more is some of those gardens are being very well cared for by local residents already. So I'd just like to give a big shout out to the residents who already have adopted patches of land all across our area. And thank you for all the work that you're putting in. And as I keep saying, we're just looking for more people like you.
Yeah. Now, gardening isn't competitive as such, but nationally there is this competition called Britain in Bloom, which you tend to think, it's run by the Royal Horticultural Society, and you tend to think this is only for very pretty villages. However, the RHS do provide support for urban areas like ourselves.
Absolutely. It's about recognising what's already good and recognising what can be improved and directing resources towards it as well, and advice and support. And we will hopefully be entering Anglia in Bloom.
Anglia in Bloom, gosh, right. And then they come out and they not so much judge us, but they will encourage us and tell us how far we've got and how much further we can go and what to do next.
With the teams of volunteers who have met in this area already and the enthusiasm they have, then I'm sure we can make sure that we're very proud of our streets when Anglia and Bloom come here.
Sure. I mean, I see you as a sort of a cross between a catalyst and a facilitator, releasing the energy that is there in people once they realise that they can contribute, they can take part, they can have fun. They can learn new skills and they can meet new people.
Absolutely. Community First will only ever be as strong as the community it supports. So it's about finding those people and empowering them to make a difference in their own area. I'm not asking you to come to an odd bit of Peterborough. It's right outside your own door. I want to make sure that the rubbish is cleaned up, the place is looking tidy, and that there are interesting activities to take part in as well. And there's already a lot of that going on as well, including Tea for Free up at St Mark's.
Tea for Free, what's that?
Tea for Free is a brilliant way for anyone in the community to come together on a Monday afternoon and just get to know your neighbours. And that's where I've met so many of the talented people in this area who I have met already as well. Lots of them go there already, and they're always welcome, always happy to welcome new people too.
So this is held in St Mark's Church Hall on a Monday afternoon, starting at 2:00.
Absolutely.
There's tables, chairs, little candles, tablecloths, tea, coffee, even decaf, I think, and hot chocolate and biscuits, and the opportunity to chat or play a board game or do a jigsaw puzzle. Yeah?
Absolutely. I think that when people are members of a community, it's better for their mental health. There is nothing, the worst thing in our community is loneliness in the modern age. So many people feel like they're trapped in their houses, they don't get to go out enough, they don't get to meet people, and they don't know where they can meet people either.
Have you found other places of meeting and gathering?
Absolutely. In fact, I was playing bingo this afternoon right here at the Iqbal Centre. And they have a wonderful club on a Thursday afternoon where there's always something going on.
Right, good. And there's yet more places for you to discover and more activities.
Oh, I haven't stopped since I got here, and I think it's going to be about 2 or 3 weeks before I've looked around everything there is in the area yet.
Now, let's come back to the project that Community First started and launched and got the grant for. They called it Project Thrive, and it had some key objectives, which I think are your key objectives and your priorities. Can you tell us something about those?
Well, it was actually based on research that Community First had done. Community First Peterborough had done in this area. And what they found was that the things that concerned people most were crime prevention, the environment, services for youth, and social inclusion. And so those are the 4 key tenets that I'm working on.
Okay.
How to make the streets safer, how to make the streets look better, and how to get people and young people involved in new projects as well.
Now, with young people, I think the first thought that many citizens will have is there need to be youth clubs. But I've heard you've got a very novel idea to engage some of our young people in this area. Are you ready to share that with us? Oh,
I'm very happy to put it out there and say that I am interested in talking to young people in a different way. I don't think young people are necessarily as interested as they once were in going out to a youth club of an evening, but I want to hear their voices. And young people are using their voices in so many different ways, in creating vlogs, in creating podcasts, and that's exactly what I want them to do, is to tell me their experience of this area using those means. And so I've been talking to some very creative people in Peterborough, and I think that in the near future we will be able to announce a podcast project for the area, yes.
So that's the youth project, and then there's social inclusion. What does that involve?
Basically, all that means is people coming together. And it means that every project, what could be more simple than we all live on a road. It doesn't matter where we come from. We live on one street. We walk past the same bins, the same rubbish every day, the same flower beds every day. What I want to make sure is that everyone in the area is involved in making those areas as good as they can be for everyone.
So there's something that anyone can do, whatever skills they have, whatever abilities they have.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it doesn't really matter where you came from because you live here now.
The environment, you've already talked about litter picking, and you've talked about the planting and clearing patches of ground. So that's a project that's getting underway. There's already stuff happened, and it's a great way of bringing people together from across the communities. Absolutely,
yeah. But none of the plans I have can come to fruition or will make a difference in the community if we can't get the volunteers to come on board and help us.
Sure, yeah. Now let me challenge you a little here, because for example, at the Beaches School, the children who go there, and they're delightful, exceptionally well-behaved children, and I have to say that because I am a school governor at the Beaches, speak something like 40 different languages. Most of them, English is a second language for. And that suggests to me that we don't just have one community living in this area. We have a number of different communities, people who've lived here a long time, from the Kashmiri community, other Asians from other parts of the world, people from Eastern Europe, again, people who've been here a long time, and that goes back to the 1940s with the Italians, and people who've come very much more recently. And a lot of those communities will identify only with their own language, with their own culture and their own people. Do you see a way of crossing those barriers?
Absolutely. No matter where you come from, if you see volunteers out on the street who are making things look better, that's universal. You can see exactly what they're doing, and you can speak to them, and you can take part in what they're doing as well. And I know that it doesn't always seem easy when people aren't like yourself. But what you find is that everyone's the same, really. And as I said, we all live in this area together.
Yeah.
This is something we share, is this area.
We breathe, I have a saying, we breathe the same air, we share the same streets. We may come with different languages or cultures, but that actually can add to the richness of our experience of life.
Absolutely. And the more people who other people see doing things in an area, the more infectious that can be. The more people you'll find that say, well, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter where you've come from, take that first step and we'll take it together.
Sure. Now let's come to the final objective, which is a very serious one, and one for which, as a society across our country, I think we struggle to know how to solve it, and that's crime prevention.
The main problem that I can see in crime prevention is people not speaking up. People not speaking up when they see that something's wrong. People being scared that they might be targeted if they do speak up. And that's something I really want, is for people to know that they can come to Community First, they can talk to us about these problems, and no one else is going to know. We're not going to tell anybody. No one else is going to know. But we will do our best to make these streets safer. And we can work together to do that as well. On our second litter pick, which is going to be on the 28th of March here at the Iqbal Centre, we actually have Neighbourhood Watch coming along, and they will be selling a lot of safety equipment at reduced prices. There will be bike locks that you can use in the house, various different crime prevention tools that you can buy here at very reasonable prices, and someone to advise you on how to use them as well. And that's just this. We will be running various different sessions on antisocial behaviour, on how do you know what a hate crime is, on important topics. But we do have our I can't stress enough that we've got our Facebook site, Community First Peterborough, on Facebook. And if people would like to come to us and say, this is a problem I've seen, we will make sure that information is passed on to people who can help.
That hate crime, for example, is so important. And I do recall going to a meeting a couple of years ago, I think, in Faisal Medina Mosque, with all the mosque leaders and chair. And the Chief Constable came and said, we want to hear every report of every hate crime. We need to see the scale of the problem, and we promise we will not ignore or dismiss what we hear. But what I wonder is whether the community trust that the police will hear them and take them seriously, and trust that it won't make life more difficult for them when the police respond and try and investigate.
I can hear exactly what you're saying. And I know that in the past, people have had difficult relationships with the police, but a lot's changed. A lot has changed in the way that the police actually deal with these things. But also, if you felt that you wanted to speak to someone and you couldn't speak to a police officer, then speak to somebody else first.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, this behaviour will continue unless we stamp it out. And of course, Community First aren't related to the police in any way. It is just a group of local residents. And if Community First were to feel that the police weren't doing something, they would be there to support you too.
Sure. And I know historically that we've held the police to account. We've held public meetings where the superintendent has come. We've had the Police and Crime Commissioner come and spend an afternoon walking around the area with us. So we're very prepared as Community First to represent the views and the needs of the community, and find opportunities where the community feel they have a voice.
And this is an organisation where the community do come first as well.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Well, Helen, it's so exciting to have you on board and doing this role of community development for Community First Peterborough, and to hear the plans that you have coming up. A final message to anyone who lives in this area?
Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone who's welcomed me to the area. I really have felt very welcomed, and I can't wait to work with the people I've already met. And to those of you who have not met yet, I can't wait to meet you and to work with you.
And just a reminder about how people can get in touch with you and with Community First.
The best way to get in touch with us is via our Facebook site, but you can always contact us via the Iqbal Centre as well.
Or even PCVS, I think.
Or PCVS. Yeah. And I am working from PCVS on Mondays and Wednesdays, and I'll be here at the Iqbal Centre on Tuesdays and Thursdays if anyone should need me.
That's wonderful to know. And of course, I'm In the background, I chair Community First. Mohammed Saeed is vice chair. We're very open to be contacted ourselves. We're just coming towards the end of this first half of the show. Instead of the adverts, we have a time of prayer coming up in just a few seconds. So let me say again a very big thank you to Helen Walkinshaw, the Community Development Worker for Community First Peterborough, funded by a grant from the Peterborough Communities Fund. Do stay tuned, as after the short break we're going to hear about something I've never heard of before, and I really don't know what it means. It's called the Northern Soul of Peterborough, and I'm just intrigued to know what it's all about and where it takes place. And I hope the rest of Peterborough has a soul as well. So let's now pause for these few seconds as we go into our time of prayer.
You're listening to Salam Radio, and it's now time for Maghrib Azan. This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم، وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. اللهم آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم بك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله.
This Azan is sponsored by UK Islamic Mission, serving humanity since 1962.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
And this is Adrian Holdstock presenting Community Matters Live, the radio show for all communities in Peterborough and beyond, on Salam Radio, on 106.2 FM and online at salamradio.co.uk, or catch us later by watching us on YouTube or Facebook. My next guest is with me in the studio. It's Kate Hall from Jumped Up Theatre. Welcome, Kate.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. And you're here to tell us about the Northern Soul of Peterborough. I'm intrigued by the title.
Well, Northern Soul was a dance and music youth movement, youth culture, particularly prevalent in the 1970s. It was a big part of Peterborough's history, social history. It's probably as far south as Northern Soul came and was big. And we're doing a project where we're capturing people's stories about their experience of Northern Soul in Peterborough in the 1970s. Getting loads of great stories. We're photographing memorabilia, and those stories and memorabilia will go in the City Archive, which has hardly anything about Northern Soul at the moment. And then and those interviews to get the stories will be done by students from Peterborough Regional College.
Okay.
And then some other students from Peterborough Regional College will work with some theatre professionals to create what I'm calling a living history installation, which will be part of the Peterborough Heritage Festival in June. So we're capturing everything and then getting it out there. So it'll be very exciting. And then we're also running some fitness classes to Northern Soul music as well.
Gosh, right. But can you take me back to the 1970s? And first thing is, how did Peterborough get associated with the North?
Well, I suppose there were just people who loved the music and got the vibe. There might have been people who moved here, I suppose, from places like Wigan and Manchester and Stoke, where it was really big. And they just created it themselves. A Stand Ground Youth Club was a really popular place where Northern Soul was played, and that often happened that youth clubs, because they were run for and by young people, and you know, they wanted to dance, and everybody wants to be different from their parents. So they wanted to dance to a different type of music than their parents. There was all this vinyl that was circulating, which was undercover is a good way of describing it, because sometimes people did cover up the labels of their records, so you couldn't tell what the DJ was playing. So they could have like a sort of secret, because there weren't very many copies around. It's not like you could just go and download. And the Warina was another venue. You'll hear people talk about that as a brilliant music venue in the city. Oh, that we had one now. And that was a really so I think we had a really young population then. That was when Peterborough was really expanding. There were lots of people moving here for jobs and to have families. So it just came at the right time for Peterborough.
Was it the sort of music that amateur bands would get together and have a go at?
No, it was vinyl.
Right, okay.
It was American soul, a lot of black American soul.
Yeah.
So you had northern working class people dancing to obscure black American soul. And it was often B-sides or records which had been printed but not released, or maybe even they were being recorded and not released. Some people got hold of tapes from recording studios in America, and that's why it was sort of underground, because it was exciting, because it wasn't just out there. You know, it's like any youth culture. It's great to have you. If you're part of a youth culture, you don't want to be a part of the thing that everybody else is doing. You want to be part of something that's a bit special, that shows that you're different from somebody else, really.
So in a sense, you're breaking boundaries, which is what, as we grow up, we want to test the boundaries, but it wasn't illegal.
No, not at all. I mean, they organised sessions.
Yeah.
They used to start quite late, like midnight, and go into 6 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
I think maybe because clubs weren't available, and it would probably be cheaper to sort of come after. They often happened in places where there might be like a tea dance. So I think Wigan Casino, where that was a place, you know, it's all gilt and wooden floor, and you need a good dance floor to do it. Were places where you might have tea dances in the afternoon, early evening, clear them out, Northern Soul moves in.
Yeah. So you're looking for the people who were participating in this as young people in the 1970s?
Yeah, we're interviewing people.
Yeah. How are you going to find them?
Well, we've got the word out already. We've probably got a name of about 60 people on our list. Not everybody wants to be interviewed, but that's fine. I think we'll persuade them, and we're going to have to send some people a bit far and afield to find some of the key people. So there's a guy called Paul Donnelly, who was really key. His name keeps coming up. And I think he's out in Whittlesea, so we're going to have to get someone to go out to Whittlesea to interview him. It's not that far. But obviously when you're working with students, we've got to work around supporting them. So we put the word out. There's been an article in the Peterborough Telegraph. It's had over 10,000 views. So there's obviously a lot of enthusiasm. I think some people are quite reluctant to say that they've got the story. And we're hoping to interview 30 because it's quite a lot of work. So we've kind of put the cap on 30. Because we have to transcribe them and then they have to be summarised to be stored in the archives. That's quite a lot of sort of work that goes on in the background. So we've just got the word out, and we're finding people. You'll speak to one person and they'll recommend someone else, and then they'll recommend something else. We definitely want more women to come forward, because I run a theatre company, so we're particularly interested in the dancing and why people danced and what that did for them. So, but there's also record collectors, promoters, DJs, the people who drove the buses, because people travel miles in and out. So it would be a big trip. People would travel to Wigan to go for a night out, and then you get people travelling from all the outskirts of Peterborough, like Boston, the Wisbech. But Wisbech had its own night, and March was quite a centre for hotspot for Northern Soul. So people would travel around, and they didn't have their own transport. So you were lucky if you found someone who had a car, and then there were a lot of getting buses at 6 o'clock in the morning to get home, or the last bus at night to get to the venue. So no wonder they danced through the night, because they couldn't get home.
Now, what about the students that are going to do the interviews?
So we've already spent a day with the students at Peterborough Regional College. We worked with about 50 students. We spent a day with them, getting them to understand what youth culture is. They had really great insights to that. They tried a bit of taste of Northern Soul dancing, and it was brilliant. Working with this brilliant woman called Gemma McDowell, who's in a band called The Contacts, but she's also a trained dancer and choreographer. And a lot of the students at the beginning were like, oh, I don't want to do dancing. We're working with drama students and media students. But by the end of the day, after they'd done a couple of sessions, they were like, this is great, I want to do it every week. And they were doing the moves, they were doing the backdrops, and we had some doing the splits and the spins, only required by 18-year-olds, it has to be said. So that's what we're doing with them. And then in March, early March, we'll be training them in oral history interviewing techniques. So it's great because they're getting somebody from the Oral History Society, which is based at the British Library, will be coming and training them.
Oh, wow.
In oral history
That's
techniques.
The British Library in London.
Yeah. So we'll be training them up, and they'll have that sort of almost as a qualification, but it's a brilliant skill for young people to have as well.
Yeah. What's specific about interviewing for oral history?
Well, there's ethical issues because obviously if something's being stored for oral history, it will be in the public domain. So there's sort of making sure that people are saying things that they're comfortable that goes into the public, making sure that people are comfortable that their personal details, not their personal detail, their personal story is available. And also it's about training them in listening skills. And how to, if they hear something, a little bit of a story, but they don't get the full story, how to sort of draw that out of someone. So about paying attention as well.
Sure. And I guess they're going to practice before they go and meet.
They'll practice as part of the training, and then we've got some people who have been involved in the project already, who I think will be. I don't think, from what I've spoken to lots of Northern Soul soulies. And once you get them going, because they love it so much, it's actually, you're like, can we really get this all done in an hour? That's the real challenge, really, because they have so many brilliant memories.
Yeah, sure. You know, I've actually got a quote here from the acting principal at the regional college, Rachel Nichols. She says this: "This is a great learning and career development opportunity for our students, with over 50 students benefiting from a high-quality industry-related work experience project. This is a fantastic collaborative project with our journalism, media and performing arts students, using their passion for their subjects to capture and celebrate the youth culture of their grand and great grandparents, and then share it with the city."
That's lovely.
That's a lovely testimonial, isn't it? I'm really pleased to hear that. Yeah.
Getting Peterborough Regional College on board is what kind of made the project all come together. I've been kind of thinking about this project for about 2 years. And I've done quite a lot of work with Peterborough Regional College because they do work experience on my theatre festivals. And they sort of said, have you got anything else for us? And I was like, actually, how about this? And they were like, brilliant. Because it's youth culture, it really relates to the young people. And we're hoping that we'll be teaching them the moves that those of us who are no longer in our teens or our early 20s can no longer do.
You might be tempted to try.
I have taken part in one of the sessions, and the full-on sessions, it has to be said, and it's great because there's loads of moves, but you've really got to concentrate. I think you've got to let the music get inside you, because there is no set moves for Northern Soul. It's how the music makes you want to move. So that's quite free. But when we'll be doing the body and soul sessions, which are open to everybody, they will be at whatever level people want to go for. And it's about raising their heart rate and improving balance and strength whilst dancing to some really great music.
Wow. Now, I guess there must be some costs associated with this project. Have you managed to get some funding?
Yeah, we've got funding for the majority of the project from Heritage Lottery Fund. It's the first time we've ever had Heritage Lottery funding, so it was great. And then also Communities East, which is funded by the Community Lottery Fund, are funding the workshops. And also we've just been given some money by Councillor Arcia Joseph to buy the kit for the because we've got decks and stuff, because we want people to bring, they're invited to bring vinyl to the dance sessions, because there's a sort of fitness bit and then there's a social bit after all, and we want people to be able to play their vinyl. So thank you to Councillor Arcia Joseph for doing that. If anybody would like to make a donation, that would be great, because we want to buy costumes for the students to be part of the Northern Soul project, and we've got a tiny budget for that, but we've got more students who want to be involved than I've got budget to do costumes. So if anybody would like to donate costumes or donate money to buy those costumes, we'll probably work with Sue Ryder to get those costumes. That would be great.
Gosh. So if people want to show an interest or offer to support with costumes or money or time, how can they get in touch?
You can find Jumped Up Theatre on social media. So we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And we also have a website. So it's all on there.
Jumped Up Theatre. Earlier this evening when I was researching this, I just put Jumped Up into the search engine, and there you are.
There we are. We're busy. We're out there.
So we've talked a lot about the history of the Northern Soul music and the experience in the 1970s, the involvement of students from Regional College. Let's hear a little bit more, can we, about how this information that's all been gathered together will then be used.
So what will happen is the students we're borrowing these recording devices from Peterborough Regional College called Zooms, which are digital recorders, and the students will be trained how to use them. Some will know because they're media and journalism students, but it will be new to some others. They'll be trained up how to use that equipment, and they will meet the Soulies. They're going to work in pairs so they can support each other to meet the Soulies and interview them. And we will then download those interviews. They will go through a special magic machine and get turned into text. But that doesn't. You have to then also have a transcriber we've got 2 volunteer transcribers. Anybody else who's trained in transcribing, get in touch. They will listen to the interviews and summarise them for us. And then we will give all that material to a playwright called Nick Wood, who I've worked with a number of times. And he will work his way through them, pick out the themes, some key stories, and he'll be working with Jason from Small Nose Theatre Company, who's directing the project. And they'll kind of like find the core stories in there. And then they will use that to create some sort of script with the young people. Which will be part of whatever we create for the Heritage Festival, as well as having Gemma, the choreographer, coming in and working with them and creating. It's more she'll be getting the students to explore their own Northern Soul style. What I really secretly want is I want a flash mob of Northern Soul dancing outside the cathedral as part of the Heritage Festival. So that's like anyone can join in.
I'm sure there are ways to get flash mobs to.
Yeah, I've been told, what's the phrase? Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
But the cathedral should be a good place to ask for forgiveness.
No, I'm working closely with Vivacity. They've been really supportive.
Yeah.
And they're quite excited about the idea. They've got some great plans for the Heritage Festival this June. And we're bringing the Heritage Festival all the way up to the 1970s, which is like the most recent history they've ever had in the Heritage Festival.
Is this being done anywhere else in the country?
No, Peterborough's unique.
So
of course.
Are Manchester and Wigan and other places going to come and have a look?
Well, funny enough, I do work with partners in Wigan on another project quite a lot, and they're creating. So Wigan Casino was one of. I'm not going to get into an argument with Northern people as to which was the most famous Northern Soul place, but Wigan Casino was very big, and the partners that I work with at the Old Courts in Wigan are. Been given the opportunity to create a Northern Soul museum in Wigan, so they're on the case for that. So who knows, maybe something of Peterborough can go to Wigan rather than Wigan coming here. I mean, we've been given we've been shown some beautiful things. Somebody sent me a photograph of their Northern Soul bag, because you would go to Northern Soul and you would probably take a different pair of shoes because you want smooth shoes so you can spin and slide. It's quite different from what you would normally wear to dance in. You don't want grip. That's the last thing you want. You'd probably have a bit of talcum powder or chalk in there because that makes the floor slippier. There's lots of people, venues, who get really upset about that. And then might probably have a change of clothes because you get really hot and sweaty. And these bags they were quite iconic of their time, and then people would buy badges when they went to different events, and they'd sew them on the bag. A lot of the sew them on the clothes as well. And this guy called Graham Hewitt has sent us pictures of the most beautiful bag covered in Northern Soul badges. And they are so that it's stuff like that. So I actually want to say to the museum, you should probably do an exhibition of all this stuff that we're finding. As ever, I wish I'd asked for more money and then we could have done more. But the project's pretty big as it is.
Oh, it's fantastic. So, how will the local community of Peterborough get to experience all of this work and presentation of?
Well, they obviously can come to the Heritage Festival, see whatever the students create there, and then there'll be highlights from the interviews will be on the website, and so they'll be on as text, but also we're hoping to create mini podcasts, so you can just listen to 3 minutes, a bit like the Listening Project on Radio 4, where you just listen to 3 minutes of a much longer interview. The plan is that we'll be, when the writer's going through the transcripts, he'll be identifying, this is a good bit, and then we'll be able to clip that out of the interview. And on the Jumped Up website, have a sort of montage of all these different, so people can come in and click to lots of different bits. So, and then also everything we gather in will be in the Peterborough Archive at Central Library as well. So that will be accessible to the public as well.
Sure. I'm excited about the podcast. I think we could invite you back after the event and just say, no, come and share one or two of your favourite podcasts with us. Oh,
that would be hard. Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe when we getting close to the Heritage Festival, if you have time, come and tell us what's coming up.
Maybe we can send some of the media and journalism students in, because they will have done. I'm just spinning the plates, making sure but they will have really gone into it in depth, so they can come in and talk about it.
To hear their experience of learning how to do interviews in a special type of interview, and how that's gone, and the people that they met.
they'll be after your job, because they want careers in media and journalism. So
right. This is a 0 hours unpaid career here.
I think that's where we all start.
You mentioned something else about fitness and social sessions.
Yeah, so PVCS, Peterborough Community and Voluntary Services.
PCVS.
They have got some support from the community fund, the lottery fund, community lottery, and they were looking for projects to support that were about fitness, but that were a bit different. And I have to admit, when I was first mentioned to me, I was a bit like, I haven't got anything. We don't really do anything like that. And then I was driving along and I went, we'll do some fitness classes. So we've got Chloe Wilmot from Chloe's Dance Academy, who's a local dance teacher, and she's a trained fitness instructor as well. She has got a brilliant, lovely, supportive, warm way of working with people. And she's new to Northern Soul as well. She'll be running an hour's worth of a session, which is structured to support fitness. So there'll be a warm up and routines and stuff, but it'll all be at any level that people can access at any level. You do not need to be a Northern Soul expert at all. There'll be an hour of that, and then another hour of social dance, where we can either just play one of our sound collections, or because we're asking people to give us their top 3 tunes, so we'll can pick from there, or people can bring their vinyl and they can play their vinyl, and they can have a bit of a DJ and a bit of a dance, and then after an hour we'll have to say it's time for you to go home now. But we hope what we'll also be doing is promoting Northern Soul Nights, because the city has a few. We'll be promoting Northern Soul Nights, so it's a great opportunity for people to get out, get fit. You can dance on your own to Northern Soul, so you don't need to bring anybody with you. All ages are welcome.
I was going to ask about ages.
All ages are welcome. It is daytime, so it's 10 o'clock on Thursdays from the 5th of March. So if you're free, then you're welcome to come.
Come where?
Oh, the Key Theatre.
The
Key Theatre.
Yeah.
So we're using the Black Box studio at the Key, because it's got that kind of nightclub atmosphere.
Yes.
Yeah, we might get some lights up and stuff like that.
So 10 o'clock in the morning, every Thursday from the 5th of March.
Yeah.
At the Key Theatre.
Yeah.
For just an hour.
An hour is structured, and then there's optional. You can stay and dance afterwards, and it's admission by donation.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So everybody can come.
And any age, so I don't have to be able to do the splits.
In fact, I'd be very surprised if anybody could do the splits. But maybe, because there's 18 sessions, maybe after 18 sessions you could be able to do the splits. Or at the very least, you might want to be part of something that we do at the Heritage Festival.
Gosh, that's wonderful. I wonder if people, if they're not sure if they're going to go alone, go with a friend.
Absolutely.
Go with a neighbour.
Bring a friend. Bring somebody who you can say, "Oh, come on, this will be good fun." We'll go and stand at the back. I'm going to give it a go. And I haven't danced for a long time. Not in public, anyway. In the kitchen, yes, but not in public. No.
Oh, that's wonderful. So that's at the Key Theatre every Thursday from the 5th of March. And as it says on your website, participants can improve their fitness and get on the decks to share their favourite vinyl. So you could bring your vinyl.
You can bring your vinyl. Yeah. Northern Soul vinyl, obviously. Bring your Northern Soul vinyl, and you can have a go as well. So
I'm going to quote here from your website, because I love this commentary you've made. You've said, "From the stories I have been told already, there were a lot of local people whose youth was filled with dancing and listening to Northern Soul. We want to hear from everyone." Well, I really hope you do.
Yep, I hope we do as well.
And you've mentioned that you're looking for loans of memorabilia like posters and badges, which we can document for the city's archive, and clothes for the students to wear at the Heritage Festival. So I really do recommend people want to learn more about this to have a look at the Jumped Up Theatre website. Or get in touch and have a word with Kate.
Yeah,
Hall.
and we can sign it. We're going to do a newsletter that keeps people in touch. That will go, so you can sign up for that via the website as well. So you can get in touch however you like. I've got a brilliant young woman called Sophie who's managing the communications because we've had a lot.
Yeah.
So she's only working for us 1 day a week.
Yeah.
On her day off, she's working for us, and she's managing that whole process. So you'll hear from Sophie if you get in touch. So.
Right. Well, this has been fantastic. I've never ever heard of Northern Soul, but
Oh dear.
oh dear.
When it gets under your skin. I was in the house the other day tidying up, and I had a Northern Soul tune running through my head, and I was like, "That's it. I have caught the bug."
Well, thank you. Our time's coming to an end. So let me say a very big thank you to Kate Hall, the leading light of Jumped Up Theatre, creating a positive change for communities through access to the arts. And look out for the new Northern Soul project. And of course, many thanks to our earlier guest, Helen from Community First Peterborough. Coming up next week, we're going to hear about the Millfield Me Link Road project, and also the citywide provision called Food Bank. Well, that's all we have time for in Community Matters. Remember, you are the community that matters wherever you are, and we'd like everyone to be a community that lives in peace and harmony. So from me, Adrian Holdstock, Salam, Shalom, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, and the peace of God to you all. Good night.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio.